It was a busy afternoon in a popular shopping center when an unexpected encounter took place. Keanu Reeves, known for his low-key presence, was browsing through a store when a liberal woman approached him, her voice sharp with criticism. She had been outspoken in her political beliefs, and in that moment, she decided to confront Keanu, seemingly hoping to challenge his opinions. She began to attack him with pointed remarks, questioning his stance on various issues. The tension in the air was thick as people around them began to notice the altercation. Keanu, however, remained calm, his usual composed demeanor holding strong despite the provocation. His response, though quiet and measured, would leave the woman stunned. What happened next would leave everyone around them in awe of Keanu's ability to turn a potentially hostile moment into one of profound humility and understanding. The woman's words grew louder, attempting to provoke a reaction from Keanu, but he remained unfazed. His eyes met hers with quiet resolve, and instead of defending himself or retaliating, Keanu listened. He took a deep breath, absorbing her anger without interruption, then responded gently, "I believe we can always find common ground if we approach each other with kindness and understanding." The simplicity of his words struck everyone nearby. The woman, expecting a fiery response, was taken aback by Keanu's calmness. For a moment she was silent, processing the contrast between her aggression and his quiet strength. The tension that had filled the air suddenly dissipated, replaced by an uncomfortable but respectful silence. Keanu's ability to remain composed, despite being attacked, left the woman visibly shaken. She stumbled for a response, but her words faltered. Keanu, still calm, offered a smile that seemed to say he understood the frustration, but chose to respond with empathy instead of conflict. The woman, humbled, nodded slightly and walked away, leaving behind a stunned crowd that had witnessed not a confrontation, but a lesson in grace under fire. As the woman walked away, Keanu remained where he stood, unaffected by the incident. The crowd around him, who had watched the exchange in awe, began to quietly disperse, some shaking their heads in disbelief at how calmly he had handled the confrontation. Whispers of admiration spread among the onlookers, with many praising Keanu for his ability to diffuse the situation with such dignity. He had turned what could have been a heated argument into a peaceful resolution, teaching those around him the power of listening and responding with empathy, rather than reacting in anger. Keanu's approach left a lasting impact. People began to talk, not about the altercation, but about how a simple moment of grace could shift the dynamics of a tense situation. Keanu's message was clear. Even in the face of criticism and provocation, one can choose to remain grounded and treat others with respect. It wasn't about agreeing or disagreeing, it was about handling differences with understanding. The incident, though brief, became a lesson for everyone who witnessed it. In the days following the incident, Keanu's calm response continued to resonate. The story of the confrontation spread, sparking conversations on social media and news outlets. People shared how they were inspired by Keanu's ability to remain composed and gracious in the face of provocation. Many reflected on how easily situations could escalate into conflict, but Keanu had shown them the power of de-escalation. The encounter became a symbol of the strength found in patience and empathy. The woman who had attacked him later expressed regret, acknowledging how her own frustration had clouded her judgment. She publicly apologized not just to Keanu, but to those who had witnessed her outburst. The apology wasn't just about correcting her behavior, it was a recognition of the lesson Keanu had unknowingly imparted. His simple act of responding with dignity had turned the situation into an opportunity for growth, not just for her, but for everyone involved. As the apology spread, Keanu's influence continued to ripple across communities. People began sharing stories of how they had applied the same principles in their own lives, choosing patience, kindness, and understanding over anger and frustration. Keanu's quiet grace had inspired a shift in how people approached conflicts, both big and small. The woman, now reflecting on the lessons she had learned, became an advocate for respectful dialogue and emotional intelligence. Her once dismissive attitude toward Keanu transformed into a deep respect for how he handled the situation. Keanu, ever humble, never sought recognition for his actions, yet his example continued to inspire thousands. What began as an uncomfortable moment had evolved into a broader movement of empathy, reminding everyone that strength lies not in dominating others, but in fostering understanding. The story of Keanu's composed response spread across the media, with experts in conflict resolution and communication praising his approach as a perfect example of emotional intelligence. News outlets and podcasts featured discussions on how Keanu's calm demeanor had prevented what could have been a public spectacle from turning into a full-scale confrontation. His approach was contrasted with the often chaotic reactions seen in the media, providing a stark reminder of the impact of kindness and patience. Even those who had initially criticized Keanu's calmness began to acknowledge the value in choosing peace over escalation. People everywhere took notice, not just of Keanu's grace, but of the power that a single moment of thoughtful response could have on the world. His example became a cultural touchstone, prompting individuals to reconsider how they engage with others in challenging situations. In the months that followed, the impact of Keanu's example continued to grow. Various organizations and communities started implementing workshops based on his approach, teaching patience, empathy, and non-confrontational communication. Schools introduced programs that emphasized conflict resolution, using Keanu's story as a prime example of how calm and reasoned responses can lead to positive outcomes. Public figures, once known for their fiery responses to criticism, began to model themselves after Keanu's behavior, recognizing the strength in maintaining composure. Meanwhile, Keanu himself remained largely out of the public eye, choosing to continue his work quietly, letting his actions speak for themselves. His influence was felt in subtle ways, transforming the culture of how people engaged with each other in moments of stress or provocation. The woman, too, began sharing her story as a way to encourage others to choose grace over conflict, explaining how a single moment had forever changed her approach to communication. As Keanu's example continued to inspire people around the world, the impact of that brief encounter became a catalyst for larger societal change. Corporations adopted new communication strategies rooted in empathy and respect, incorporating lessons from Keanu's calm and composed response. Leaders began to understand that leadership isn't just about making decisions, it's about how you handle pressure and how you interact with others when faced with adversity. The viral story of Keanu in the shopping center went on to shape discussions in leadership conferences, mental health forums, and conflict resolution seminars. Even the woman who had initially provoked him began to advocate for more thoughtful, less confrontational communication, sharing her own transformation as proof of the lessons she had learned. Keanu's quiet strength had turned a small moment into an enduring legacy of empathy, reshaping how people viewed and responded to challenges. In the years that followed, Keanu Reeves's legacy continued to grow, not just as a celebrated actor but as a symbol of grace, patience, and emotional strength. His ability to diffuse conflict without engaging in it became an example for generations, proving that true power lies in understanding, humility, and kindness. The woman, now an advocate for empathy in her own right, often cited Keanu's example as the turning point in her life. She shared her story with others, emphasizing how one moment of calm in the face of anger could change everything. The world, often torn by division and hostility, had been reminded of the quiet power of grace and respect, and it was a lesson that many would carry with them for years to come. Keanu's influence was felt far beyond his films, as his example continued to inspire people to rise above conflict and embrace peaceful resolution in their daily lives. Please subscribe channel for Keanu Reeves. Respect, thanks.